I know that we usually do our kind of game preview towards the end because it makes sense logically, but I'm almost feeling like we should just get into this game now, if you know what I mean.
All right, yeah.
Because I feel like we're kind of in that good football talk. So, yeah, I think, kind of piggybacking off what you said, I think that matchup-wise, yes, this is definitely a much friendlier game to the Bears than the Packers. I mean, I think what Rodgers is to the Bears, Drew Brees isn't quite, I think you brought up when in our game recap that we posted on YouTube that, even when we played with Foles, the Saints game wasn't one of our worst games. I mean, it was rather close in score, and hopefully with where the offensive production is at against this defense, I mean, it's going to yield more points, and it'll at least be able to kind of supplement what the defense is giving up now. The only thing I fear about it a little bit just is I don't think the Saints are going to be able to do quite as much harm to this Bears defense as the Packers did, right? But I do think that, Sean Payton, Drew Brees, those are still high football IQ people right there. They've been a very successful tandem for a long time. And, just where Pagano was at, like, we need him to hit that extra gear. We need this defense to really, get back. And like you said, we're getting some players back. So we can hope that this defense is going to take a bit of a step up. But we need a much better performance. I can't really emphasize that enough that, this is a playoff time. And, even the best offenses in the playoffs sputter a bit because the defenses really just do step up. And there's also a big change in kind of game plans. I feel like, coaches tend to be a lot more conservative in the playoffs just because of what's on the line and what's at stake. And maybe that will favor the Bears a little bit too. Teams will be a little bit less willing to break, maybe break their norm and go for the big play or try to do something, out of the norm. But at the same time, any good coach is going to exploit weaknesses within the defense, is going to exploit, the players that are missing. So, the same red flags that we saw, on display in Soldier Field this past Sunday are going to be the same ones that, unless, the replacements are there. But I'm sure we'll still see Duke Shelley, still see Kendall Vilder in this game. Because what's the status of Buster Skrine?
No, I mean, no one really knows. We haven't gotten an injury update on any of these players yet. The first injury update we're going to get is actually on Wednesday. So here's the thing, I thought Vildor did a really good job. He was not noticeable until he dropped that pick. And if that's going to be the one thing you're noticeable about during the game, right, that's pretty much a playoff game. I mean, as a freaking, was he 5th, 6th round pick? I can't even remember at this point. At that level, I mean, that is fantastic performance by him. I'm more concerned about Jalen Johnson because I would like to see, truthfully, is Jalen Johnson go ahead and switch back to his normal position and then have Vildor, if Skrine isn't ready, Vildor play the slot. I feel better about Vildor playing the slot than I do about Shelley playing the slot right now. And you bring up, tons of great points. There's so much unknown about this game. Who will be playing? Will Alvin Kamara be completely better from COVID because he has COVID right now? I know they're saying that he can be, but I mean, that is like 9 days. I know when I had COVID, that wasn't, I wasn't feeling the best after 9 days, I have to say. So it's really going to depend on a lot of different things. And I honestly think that health could absolutely determine this game with how close. I mean, we went to overtime with the Saints earlier this year with Nick Foles. With a worse offensive line than what we're doing now. If David Montgomery can just, run the ball, if we can get Mitch can just hit 1 or 2 of those deep shots, that's all we need from it is just 2. If Mitch hit like 2 or 3 of those opportunities that he misses currently downfield every single game, we would all be yelling to re-sign Mitch. We'd be bringing him in. We'd say, get this man a contract on the table right now. But because he misses those are game-altering plays, huge opportunities missed. He obviously hit Mooney earlier, who also is on the injury report right now, Darnell Mooney, which would be a massive loss. So yeah, injuries could absolutely determine this game, whether we like it or not. They certainly played into the last game against the Packers. This team needs to find a way to get healthy. I don't know exactly how. I know even Khalil Mack's been playing partially injured all season. Man, this is a tough game. This is a tough game because truthfully, when healthy, this entire team completely healthy and the Saints completely healthy, I would be predicting a win right now. with Mitchell Trubisky and the way this Bears team's playing. But man, these injuries just leave so much unknown.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting because they'll probably be that way all the way up until game time, honestly, that you probably won't know
That's what I think.
Who's all playing. And like you said, the whole Alvin Kamara situation, if that was a Saturday game, he wouldn't have a shot at playing. It's just because it's a Sunday game. So that's kind of just how down to the wire things have gotten. And like you said, I mean, injuries are going to play a huge part. I think, saying that, both these teams are fully healthy is a totally different story as far as how you're going to look at the game. And that's kind of what's crazy about this time of the year is you have to look at, what do teams even have left? It's kind of, it's a bit of the war of attrition kind of point of the NFL season where, this is where it pays off to have a lot of depth and, where not having that off season, not having that preseason, really kind of tested, where they're now analyzing skill during training camp when they had it, just really emphasized how important this year's training camp was, even though it was such a tight, kind of window, such a forced thing. And, there are tough decisions that have to be made there. And those kind of decisions reflect back now when, some of those players that, you didn't want to have playing are unfortunately playing and, you have to make best with them. So, it's going to be a game to see maybe whose depth, and it's going to be in different places, shines through. And I think that the Saints offense will be manageable. I do believe that, at least Pagano can hopefully put together some kind of scheme that's going to let the Bears offense at least do what it needs to do to succeed. And it would be good to at least get a couple of turnovers. I mean, honestly, I'd be fine with the Bears defense giving up, a couple of touchdowns, if they give up 21 points, I'll be fine if they can give up 21, 24 points, but they provide, 2 solid turnovers to put the Bears into some decent scoring position. I think that would definitely be crucial. And a lot of times playoff games come down to those kind of things. And, Trubisky, he needs to tighten up his game a bit too, because he put the ball into some dangerous areas. I mean, got picked off once, probably should have gotten picked off 2 other times in the game Sunday. So he needs to get that straightened up. Otherwise, the Bears are going to be they're going to be struggling to stay afloat.
Yeah, I mean, Trubisky's performance was very poor. We need to be able to rely on him, and that's really the key issue with this team. If you want to look at this team from a cumulative perspective, is we don't have a quarterback that we can rely on, and because of that, people want to complain about the play calling. And I was a big person complaining about the play calling all year. If there's anyone that should be complaining about the play calling right now, it should be me. Last game was play called completely fine, and the reason why it is because you can't trust Mitch, and specifically against the Packers, because something that Mike Pettin does well is he trusts his players to pick off Mitchell Trubisky. They trust his players to not let Mitchell Trubisky beat them downfield. So with that, it really condenses what you can actually do as an offensive play caller. A lot, significantly. The playbook is probably at a third of what Matt Nagy wishes it could be. I think we know that for certain, that it is much more condensed than what Matt Nagy would like it right now. And that's why I don't believe even if we win this game, even if we win the next 2 games in the playoffs, I do not believe that Mitchell Trubisky will be re-signed. I truthfully do not. Okay, I think that I think that he is going to be gone unless he's being used as a bridge quarterback. That being said, we have to hope that somehow Mitch just finds his groove this game and Nagy loosens up, the playbook a little bit and is able to kind of get in rhythm with him like he was doing against those bad defenses. Yeah. That's what we need from Mitchell Trubisky, and that is going to be a huge defining factor. Man, as far as who's going to win, who's going to lose, this is going to be a nail biter, this game. It's going to be really, really tough, and we have to hope that it, ends in at least a better way than our last playoff appearance did. A game that I was at where we got to see Cody Parkey dunk it off the field goal, and that's still never died.
Never does.
But at the end of the day, I have to say I think that the Bears are going to win. I truthfully do. I believe the Bears are going to win. Barring injury status, I'm going to assume maybe half the players that are currently injured play, half don't play. I just, the Saints in the playoffs, man, they have not been a good team. They have not been a good team in the playoffs. They lost to, people want to say, oh, how is Drew Brees going to lose to, Mitchell Trubisky? Well, he lost to Kirk Cousins last year, and he is garbage. So
yeah,
I think that, yeah.
It's a solid point. And you know what? The Saints
and Case Keenum like 2 years ago.
The Saints do choke in the playoffs. I think that's also a very, kind of thing you need to look at. Is they're not a team that they probably should have won more Super Bowls with Drew Brees. It's kind of the same case almost with Aaron Rodgers at this point, which, looks like he might be on his road to another one this year. But, only one Super Bowl between, having that great coach and that great quarterback is a little shameful. Although, I'm glad you said that the Bears will win, so that way we're not 100% negative. I do think the Saints will win this game. A lot of that is based off kind of like the form, I guess, that this team is in, just watching them play against the Packers. With that being said, though, this game could tilt in the Bears' favor. The Bears just kind of have that knack. Sometimes teams kind of play down to the Bears, I mean, I don't know what other way to say it. It seems like a very negative knock on the Bears, but sometimes, like, Bears games just kind of get ugly, and they have a way of kind of just slowing down and
even at their worst, they've mostly been close games under Nagy, even in 2019.
Yeah, exactly. So you figure that the Bears, are gonna be able to do something decent, at least keep the game close. So I think it'll be interesting. I do think injuries are gonna have a big part to play. But with that being said, I think that this could be a game that, the Saints win maybe like 30-24. I could really see it being, that close, that down to the wire.
I could see it going to overtime again. Like, I think that is a very real possibility. And I'm actually going to say that I think it will go to overtime. I don't think that this is going to be a blowout on either team's end. I truthfully don't think the Saints have been a fantastic team this year. I mean, especially looking at what the Packers did to them early in the year, and then, they've been through some hiccups themselves, obviously with Drew Brees' health, all different kinds of things. Who knows if Alvin Kamara is out, then I think that the Bears for sure are going to win. He's really my biggest concern, truthfully, is Alvin Kamara, and Mitchell Trubisky, because my biggest concern against the Bears is our quarterback, which is very bad right now.
It says something.
Yeah, it really says something. So, yeah, I do believe that the Bears can win this game. They have to do a lot better defensively than they did last time. They need to do even better defensively, in my opinion, than we did the last time we played the Saints. And are less healthy since that time. Thankfully, the offense has kind of reemerged, but, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult. And I want to say to all the people that were coming at us saying, oh, of course the Bears should re-sign Mitchell Trubisky on our YouTube. Guys, did you watch the game last weekend? Because that was bad. That was pretty bad. I know that you might have seen him, complete a bunch of dump offs and end up with a decent completion percentage. But man, Matt Nagy clearly does not trust Mitchell Trubisky.
Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcasts on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.